Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
No matter how you get confused, just stay on the right track and do the right thing. That is one thing that leads you to the very best of things in life. Don't get distracted. Stand on your feet and be strong. It's on that note I'd like to welcome you to another beautiful day, and I would like to say good morning to you wherever you are viewing us from, either on Star Times channels 190 on the DTT or on all our social media handles. We thank you most sincerely for always being there. Morning Spring is the name of the program, and we are super excited to be back again. The Tuesday edition, third day in the month of October 2023. TUNDE IDOWU is my name at Irresistible TD on X. I'd like to welcome my brother as well, and it's so nice to have Femi again.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure.
Good morning, Tunde. And of course, before we go ahead, that is a quotable quote that you started with now.
All right, yeah.
No matter how confused you are, just stay on the right track.
You are.
I like to put that as TUNDE IDOWU 2023.
No matter what.
All right. Top of the morning to you, esteemed viewers across the world. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. It's Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. This is where we say it as it is. On this program, we look at very critical, topical, trending issues in the nation, issues of public importance on the shores of our nations and beyond the shores of our nation. This program holds here 7 a.m. every weekday, and we're very happy, Tunde and I, to have you join us at this time. We'll look at the papers. What does the papers say? I'm sure many persons are itching to really know what is really going on.
Absolutely.
To have an update on the proposed strike and matters arising. And on the other side of that, we'll still talk about something that has to do with labor having a permanent solution to some of these back and forth labor, government, grievances, subsidy removal, palliative, all those things around it. But the aim is having a conversation towards bettering the lot of Nigerians. That's what we do here. Femi Ojo is my name on X at Femi Ojo Live. Thank you for being part of the program today, the second one for this week. Thank you very much. And very shortly, we'll go to the headlines. But before we do that, many persons possibly are still not informed that just last night, the organized labor provisionally called off his proposed warning strike for 30 days. 30 days. So possibly you're still wondering what's going on. Now you know that if you have a work to go to,
better go to work. don't go and get locked out just like what the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi.
Please get to work. Now, it will be bad for some persons who might have preempted that thing will happen, and possibly they've traveled out of their workplace. Now, how do you get back to say? How do you call your boss to say, "Sir,
I got stuck.
I'm out of town," or traffic?
All right,
so and many parents who possibly had to just wake up to now know that there is work. School will open, and have to try rushing to get their children ready so that life can continue. Of course, that is part of life as well. The ability to just get moving, especially as Nigerians. We know how to just adjust to these situations. Sometimes it looks like virtue, but sometimes when you flip it over, it looks like that's the reason why some persons will just, I'm talking about people up there, can just roll out policies, either favorable or favorable, because they know that
we will adapt.
They will adapt.
When I started the show with my quote that you have actually tagged for me,
yes,
that if you don't get this, even as much as you get distracted, look, just stay on focused.
TUNDE IDOWU 2023.
No, just stay focused. Because as much as we had quite a whole lot of distractions in the last couple of days, Labour, federal government, back and forth, there and there. As someone who is focused, if you're not, you get distracted. Some people, just like you rightly stated, some might say, this will happen, it will happen, let me laze around, let me quickly get to the village, and by and large. So, in as much, don't get distracted, stay focused, and if you're on the right track, you definitely get to your destination in one piece. It matters a whole lot. And we'd like to let you know that all our social media handles are active. You can follow us, like, subscribe, share. On YouTube, we're active and we are live at this moment in time at Western Spring Television. Not leaving out our Facebook page. And also you can join us on Instagram and on X at Western Spring Television. It promises to be exciting as always, but definitely if you're joining us for the very first time, we'll take a short break. When we return, the dailies are here and so much is needed to be spoken about on the show from the dailies. Stay with us. It's Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll hit you up with stories making the round from the dailies. Thank you for being there with us. Let's get down to the business of the morning, the dailies first, before we go into the conversation. And quite a whole lot of dailies we have with us for today.
A lot.
I'll kick things off as usual, but today with a difference. The Vanguard newspaper is my daily I will take a look at from here. And you have the big bold headline from the Vanguard newspaper for today. FG, Labour reach truce. Nationwide strike suspended. Okay. A couple of writers that's associated to that story says, organized labor suspends nationwide strike billed to start today for 1 month. Labour, FG, sign MOU, that's the Memorandum of Understanding on issues agreed on. Provisional 35,000 naira wage award for workers secured. Good news to an extent. What do you make of the 35,000 naira for workers at this moment in time, as much as it's just for federal workers? Probably state unions, I'm not preempting, maybe state unions will begin to agitate and say, look, state governors, where are this amount of money that had been given? What are the plans for state workers as well? Because I don't see federal workers enjoying this bit of palliative dividends, and state workers will now be there. Okay. But then, by and large, even if state begins to do theirs, private owners as well. I just hope the unions rattle and what have you. But by and large, we like to say the needful should be done, and let's move on here. 35,000 naira federal additional for federal workers. Okay.
And I think we should put that in the right context, because that has only been planned for 6 months.
For 6 months, yeah.
It's not a perpetual or a substantive increase.
Yes.
So it's just for 6 months for every treasury bill paid workers. Federal. Now, in this case, just like you have just mentioned, there will be definitely agitation from workers who possibly working with state government and local government. And when you see that memorandum of understanding signed by the organized labor and the federal government, which made them to withdraw or suspend that strike for 30 days, by the way, it was said there that the federal government should urge state government and local government and private employers as well to follow through. The thing is, would they be able to add that 35,000 naira increase to the low grade earners, or possibly they will just work out something? Because some might insist, in as much our colleagues working with the federal government can earn 35,000 naira extra, why not us? But then when the conversation is about the states, you and I and esteemed viewers know that it will be a long battle. But then it sounds good that these has been suspended. Life can continue. Many persons, I know of a few persons who have had their tickets to fly, abroad changed, to days earlier. They just had to jet out of the country. And sometimes when you are the one doing that, it comes with extra cost.
Absolutely.
Definitely, to make those logistic changes and the rest of it. But it's good to know that life can continue as far as labor is concerned, as far as Nigerian workers is concerned, at least for the next 1 month. And we sincerely hope, because if you ask me, it will be a shame for 1 month to elapse, and then the threat of going on strike comes back again. It shows something is wrong somewhere, and Nigerians, I'm sure, will not like that as well.
And just as we rightly know that the 35,000 naira is just for 6 months, the actual minimum wage hasn't been agreed upon, but there is a proposal of about 200,000. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. Let's move on. And other stories still making the round from the Punch newspaper. Of course, you have the picture of the federal government represented by the the chief of staff amongst labor union leaders there. And all this is taken from the pages of Vanguard newspaper for today. All right. Just beside that picture, you have that headline there. Africa won't rise by prayer, fasting. And that's credited to Professor Lumumba. Listening to that man yesterday, I think it was yesterday.
Yes.
Goodness me. And if you probably have time, please read the full text on his speech yesterday. And that's the honest truth. We won't rise by just prayer, fasting.
And wishes.
Look, there's quite a whole lot to do. There's so much of abundance on this continent. But it's just been an aspect of leadership that's actually gotten us to where we are. But we wish them the very best and hope they can get it right. Moving further, embracing effective and strategic leadership, path to Nigeria's progress. Right, I agree with that. And this is on a sad note. Yesterday night when we saw that, even with a pregnant woman and, oh God, 35 persons burnt to death at Rivers illegal oil refining site. As much as it is illegal, it's so painful, very painful to lose anybody. We pray that the dead, will rest well. 8 killed, 5 injured in Plateau community. APC mocks 8-man NNPP London protest, slams Kano governor for blackmailing federal government. Okay, so much happening from Kano.
Interesting.
And violence, impunity, greed, selfishness won't save Nigeria. That's credited to an Anglican bishop speaking there. Okay, from the exciting world of sport, international friendlies, Omeru, Iwobi, Osai Samuel, Murphy back to Super Eagles. And now that they are back, please don't give us heart attack and don't give up BPs. We want to see good football. And on the top strip of the same daily, Vanguard newspaper for today, Tribunal sacks Nasarawa governor in split decision. Palliatives, government making announcement with limited thinking. That's credited to Peter Obi speaking there. And Diezani gets £70,000 bail in alleged £100,000 bribery trial. 100 bribery scandal, 100,000, 70,000 naira bail. FG draws roadmap to make Nigeria total digital economy. And on the major top strip there, manufacturers query FG 6 months VAT waiver on diesel. All right. These are some of the headlines we have for you from the pages of Vanguard newspaper for today.
Straight to the Nation newspaper for today. Federal government votes 100 billion naira for high-capacity CNG buses. That's from the front page of the Nation. Federal government votes 100 billion naira for high-capacity CNG buses. Labour with a rider. Labour suspends strike after signing agreement with government, and that's an offshoot of the government and the labor agreement, and it reads the agreement: 1. Suspension of strike for 30 days. Federal government to press states on wage award. Tax incentive for private sector workers. Okay. 35,000 naira for federal workers for 6 months. 75,000 naira for 15 million households. Suspension of VAT on diesel. Increased distribution of subsidized fertilizer. Joint visitation to refineries, possibly to ascertain the true position of the refineries and those ones that Nigerians are hopeful about, in which the government have talked about, that will come on stream by December. And that's Port Harcourt refinery. Right, we interrogate that further at the other side of these sessions. £100,000 bribe trial. UK court slams tough bail terms on Ihekaire. Now, EFCC to press on with our extradition. This is one case, one woman that has been in the eye of the storm for some time, especially with the EFCC trying to get her back into the country to come and answer for so many allegations of, misappropriation,
gifts,
some funny kind of things that she was alleged to have done while she was a minister. Very strong one then, Minister of Petroleum, under the government of Goodluck Jonathan. And now it seems everything is coming together for the FCC to have her extradited. But then this one is a £100,000 bribe trial, and the UK court has slammed tough bail terms on Ihekaire, including £70,000 bail. And that speaks for something, because the allegation is £100,000 today.
Yeah.
£100,000. Now the bail bond has been put at £70,000. That counts for something. In a country not too far from us here, the country that I'm talking about, somebody will be alleged to possibly have stolen or received a bribe of 1 billion naira. And then you see the bail will be 100,000 naira. And then you keep wondering what's going on here, But then for the allegation to be 100,000 and for the bail to be 70,000. That doesn't mean they freed her. No, it's just a bail bond. 70. All right, that says something. And now EFCC are working to get her back into the country to come and answer for many gross allegations of misconduct and misappropriation of funds and spending the resources of the nation anyhow while she was a minister. And you see a picture there. The bail times, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, wearing of e-tag, I think that's that thing on their leg, 70,000 naira bail bond. Mrs. Alice Madokwe, that was in court yesterday. Moving on, WHO okays Oxford vaccine for malaria. I think if this really works, WHO has passed it to be used. I think that would be a very major breakthrough. Vaccine malaria, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. For many parts of Europe or America, malaria is not an issue for them. It flourishes well, of course, in the tropical areas. Talking about sub-Saharan Africa, talking about a motherland, Nigeria. If that can really work, and it's a good thing to know that WHO has said, you know what, go ahead with it. That means if we have the vaccine, maybe our children will be less affected, even adults are well, because malaria is a serious, it kills more than HIV. It kills more than Ebola, it kills more than anything, and still keeps killing. And that's why many things have been advised for us to do, sleeping under a mosquito net. But then sometimes those things, you might not be in the position to do that. But it's a good thing to know that there is a vaccine on board now to prevent us, us Africans, from malaria. And I'm excited about that. Trump fraud case trial begin. Donald J. Trump, we have his days in court, but in the middle of that, the man is upbeat about his chances of being possibly on the ballot come the next election, presidential election. I've never seen many persons as optimistic as Donald J. Trump, even in the middle of all this trial.
that's him, and is one man whereby not until when he became president, during the campaigns before the last one, before he was the first time president, then I began to follow him much more. Yeah. And he's the kind of person, he doesn't give a damn about who you are. He has that trust, he has that belief, self-belief that whatever
doesn't matter.
I don't care.
Whatever I fix my eyes on, I'm going for.
I'm going to get it. He's such a determined man. I like his positivity towards the fact that no matter what, I am not going to get distracted by anything. I'm forging on. That's the kind of person. Even as much as he got criticized for 4 years, he's done that. He kept
and most of the time duly so.
Yeah.
I like his positivity. But Mr. Jonah Gentry,
he is a man full of controversies.
Beat him, whatever he thinks, either rightly or wrongly, he's going ahead with it. Not the best to him. Our expectations from Liberia pose, that's from possibly a group there. And this one, in which has been generating so much controversy for weeks and months. And now Tinubu graduated from CSU in 1979. Says school. Varsity releases documents to Atiku. CSU is Chicago State University. Tinubu graduated from CSU in 1979. Says school. Varsity releases documents to Atiku. And sometimes since last night that news came out, there has been different reactions, different angles. Some persons still arguing about the gender of this as, you know. It will be a very interesting few days. I mean, the next few days now for people to react, possibly from the PDP, the APC, for them. We'll be here to bring you updates on that. NAF, that's the Nigerian Air Force airstrikes, kill terrorists in Borno, and Sanu 6.25% pay rise. Here we go. And at the top strip, Tribunal sacks Nasarawa governor, Fubara Fintiri. Triumph. Fubara is governor of Rivers State. Fintiri is governor of Adamawa State. ECA withdrawals. States to get 1 trillion naira refund. Seems so many cash is flowing around these days from the federal government to the states.
1 trillion naira?
Yeah. And now, you know, the thing is, Nigerians will be waiting. How does this impact our lives? So that we just don't hear these figures just in the news alone. And 18, very bad, burnt to death in Rivers illegal refinery fire. The story you read earlier says 35. Obaseki inaugurates 34 SSAs, 152 SAs. And there you are, Monk. With your quotable quotes, you should be here. Obaseki inaugurates 34 senior special assistants, 152 senior special assistants now,
or special advisors,
or advisors, SAs. That's in the twilight of an administration just a year to go.
Man,
but then all the best to them in there. At least this is not about Shaibo and Obaseki. It's about appointments and appointments. But moving on. Finally, President celebrates General Ihekaire Day at 84. These are very strong characters and persons who have had their time, especially in the military and what they stand for. General Alani Ihekaire Day at 84.
Yeah.
Sadly, gunmen killed 9 in Plateau. That will be all from the nation for today.
Let me go straight to the pages of the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, virtually some of them carry the same story at this moment in time, so I'll just reel them as we have them as up. 6 months allowance. FG to spend 315 billion naira. Labour suspends strike for 30 days. And the writers associated to that story says, Labour demands wage award for states. LG, local government, private sector workers. And 1.5 million federal workers to benefit from government's provisional wage award. All right, then just below that major headline there, you have the pictures of labor unions and members of the federal government You have Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, NSA, there amongst other. Joe Ajero, Tony Osifo, so many people. The picture speaks quite a whole lot. On the bottom strip of the same Delhi, 33 feared killed in illegal Rivers refinery explosion. Okay, bribe-taking policemen return to Lagos Road, extort 25,000 naira from driver. This is becoming unbecoming. Because looking at this, why will you get my ATM and you go and withdraw money? That was how one of these police officers was dismissed a couple of days ago after he found 100,000 naira in somebody's account and he withdrew 98,000.
Only.
Are you saying only? If it had been you at that moment, you know what it means for somebody else to be taken away 98,000 naira. Even if it's yours, and you have to probably pay school fees at this moment in time, 98,000 naira out of 100,000 naira you've got.
When you are returning from that school, your countenance, and that's even for your right cost.
For your right cost.
Talk less of somebody holding you around and then forcing you to just cough out that. Honestly. But then most persons will say, what audacity do you have? And then we flip it to the other side. They'll still ask another question, like, why will somebody agree?
Drop my ATM.
That if there is nothing that criminal person,
the owner of
asks on you, does the police have something on you? Is that something you are doing wrong that is blackmailing you with? Because these are things that should be interrogated. Why, if he doesn't have anything on you, why do you think the person we have, although we have so many rogue officers as well, of course we have very fine officers as well.
Absolutely.
But then some of the times when people say they accosted me, they collected 500 naira from me, some at gunpoint, it has happened. But then you need to ask them, what do they have on you that will make them to just demand some ridiculous amount of money from you? Not 5,000 naira, not 100 naira, the usual, bad usual, or 5,000 or 1,000 naira, a whole 98,000. You see people come online to say, I was extorted of 400,000, 500,000, a million naira, just because they saw me and they profiled me and they checked my phone and they say I should, provide that. But I think we should have a complete conversation about that from the person who is criminally working out of his duty to go and accost somebody and say, give me this money. In fact, it has been said over and over that except on special occasions, no policeman has the right to demand for your phone. You don't. Seriously. But then what can people do when a gun is being pointed at them? That's another thing.
But by and large, I really want to appreciate the leadership of the Nigerian Police Force, from the Inspector General, Acting Inspector General of Police, the leadership at all sectors, because they are, at this moment in time, really getting a bit tough on some of these officers while they derank them and all these things.
They are being named and shamed.
I think it's a good way to really curtail all these excesses.
Serve as a deterrent.
It serves as a deterrent. We wish you the very best. And please, dear amiable and amicable police force and all the security apparatus or agencies, please, let's be humane to each other. Yeah. Let's just leave as one, rather than harassing each other with guns, batons, and what have you. Yeah. Okay. Quickly, other stories from the top strip of the same daily, the Punch newspaper for today. Marketers disagree with Tinubu's tax advisor on refinery sale. All right. Bribery. UK court restricts Diezani's movement. EFCC begins extradition. Wow. Chicago Varsity releases Tinubu's record to Atiku. Those are some of the major headlines making the rounds from the pages of the Punch newspaper for today.
All right, we go to this time the Daily Times newspaper, and that'll be the last for today. Again, federal government moves to avert indefinite strike bill for Tuesday, and I think events has really overtaken that jubilation in Lafia as tribunal sacks Nasarawa governor with rather ex-governors in court. And First Lady Garba Shehu in hot exchange over economy. First Lady Garba Shehu in a hot exchange over economy. And I think that's an offshoot of possibly what the First Lady said in an interdenominational service on Sunday to mark Nigeria's independence, where she spoke about the fact that Nigeria, her husband rather, administration inherited something bad that has happened over the years, and the husband is not a magician, and possibly Garba Shehu is not having it, especially when it's coming within the same party, a person of the same party handing over to another. But then the best to Garba Shehu and the First Lady. Diazani under curfew in UK, EFCC to extradite her. In yellow box there, Oba of Benin task immigration on border security. SANU claims over 100 members died over 4 months on paid salary. That is hard. SANU claims over 100 members died over 4 months on paid salary. You don't want to imagine if actually there is anybody in that situation who doesn't have additional source of income today, and you're not paid for 4 months.
It's really sad. Very, very sad.
People in charge sleep.
That's just it. You see, it's sad to the extent that someone who has meritoriously served in this nation for 35 years in service, or 60 years, the age grade or thereabout, and the few stipends that will keep coming at the end of the month.
These ones are even people still in service.
These are still people who are in service, and if they hear that over 100 of their members died,
according to them,
whoever is in charge of payment to this set of people, how will that kind of person sleep comfortably, if not going to be seeing the ghost of all these people? Because it's very, very unfair.
It's a sad one. It's a sad
because whoever's in charge, you get your money as at when due, and much more. Whatever is being paid, even if it's £1 million on a monthly basis, why don't you do just? How can someone be owed for 4 months?
4 months.
And you tend to sleep well without thinking of what these lives will feed on and those dependent on these lives.
Austerity will be there to judge everyone. That's it. And customers of 20 closed banks to receive 16.18 billion liquidation dividend. That sounds good. Customers of 20 closed banks to receive 16.18, that's 16.18 billion naira liquidation dividend. All right, that is that. And then I think that will be all on the front page of the Daily Times for today. And of course, the last one for this time. You've been served, you are informed, and now you know. Just like where we started on a lighter note, perhaps you have been praying for that the strike should go ahead. My brother, my sister, you should be on your way to work now.
By now. So
that the story will not be a touching one. And then you won't be able to say, I thought there would be strike. And then everybody is at work. We are at work, though we don't really have anything to do with that. Even during holidays, I remember today was happy when the holiday was given on Monday yesterday, but then we are here to always keep you company and to have you informed. We'll go on a short break right now. When we return, the conversation will resume. Please be reminded that we are live on our YouTube channel as well, at Western Spring Television. You can join us, and on the Star Times channel 190 DTT. The program will return very shortly now. Please stay with us.
Is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
And your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
on this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held lofty the torch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkelemens was a natively corrupted version of peculiar mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history. Ahmadu Bello, a Prince Royal, was born 6th of December 1910 at Raba Village, Sokoto, northwestern Nigeria. His father was a district head and heir apparent to the Sultanate throne from the house of Usmanu Danfodio, a religious and social reformer who brought the Habib dynasty under the Fulani Caliphate in the beginning of the 19th century. Ahmadu Bello raised the bar of political consciousness in participation when, in 1944, he engineered the establishment of the Northern People's Congress (NPC) as the first political party in northern Nigeria and the rallying point for politicians in the region before independence. History will not forget Ahmadu Bello for his charisma and political sagacity, which provided easy passage for his kinsmen to assume political and administrative positions in Nigeria's post-independence era. The distinguished elder statesman and Sardauna of Sokoto has his face on his country's 200 naira currency as a mark of honor to one of the architects of Nigeria's independence. Western Spring Television identifies Ahmadu Bello as a watershed character in history. This iconic African presents the narrative of a man destined to exert an imperishable global influence in Western education. His was a story of a freeborn, captured and sold into slavery. He was born in Oshogun, a native Yoruba village near Iseyin in Okeogun axis of southwest Nigeria. Samuel Ajayi Crowther was the foundation student of Fora Bay College, Sierra Leone, the foremost university where the pioneer set of native Africans were educated. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's greatest contribution to humanity was his translation of the Holy Bible into the Yoruba language. The man who authored the Yoruba dictionary was also credited with the translation of English classic hymns into Yoruba and the Ekwere languages. Samuel Ajayi Crowther's private residence in Badagry, incidentally, the first story building in Nigeria, is an Akaba museum dedicated to the memory of Africa's first bishop. Western Spring Television identifies Samuel Ajayi Crowther as a watershed character in history. The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ab initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups in the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Spring Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history.
We have reached certain agreements that inure the benefit of the Nigerian worker. Agreements on wage bill, agreements on committees on salary, agreements on the CN bosses, agreement on several other things, I believe, both TUC, Labour, and government side. We will hopefully expect that Labour will call a meeting of their various branches and executive tomorrow to present their agreements that have been reached. And we pray and we believe and we hope that we will strike the call on Tuesday.
On behalf of the TUC, also point out to the fact that we've had a series of conversations surrounding the issue raised, and we do hope that by tomorrow we are going to get across to our organs so that we can also look at it and cross-fertilize ideas and see the way forward. I'm sure we are coming back again.
Okay, gentlemen of the press, thank you for being here tonight. It has been a long day for all of us and for Nigerians as they await the outcome of the negotiation between the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. We've had very painstaking and meticulous deliberations, but what is important here is Nigeria, and all of us are committed to ensuring that this country remains united, peaceful, and prosperous. And that is the spirit behind every inch of these negotiations. We are grateful to say that at this point, we finally have an agreement to be jointly signed by the Trade Union Congress, the Nigerian Labour Congress, and the federal government. The details contained in the agreements will be presented by the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment. Thank you for being here.
All right, thank you for being there with us, and let's get down to the conversation this morning. Femi.
All right, we get right into the matter now. You've just watched what transpired in Abuja yesterday, an excerpt of before the meeting, the agreement was made, and of course the outcome of the agreement between the organized labor and of course the federal government. And it has been said for the next 30 days there won't be a strike action that was agreed by the two camps, the federal government and the organized labor, made up of the NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress, and the TUC, Trade Union Congress. So the strike is no more holding, that's no more new now. But then there were things that led us here, when I mean us, the nation here. There was a proposed strike that was due to start today that has been shelved now, and a couple of reasons were given by the organized labor. The government spoke on the matter. Let's judge on these issues, and that was what happened yesterday. But how do we prevent these? How come this is like a recurring decimal that keeps coming after some weeks, a month or two? We have been here before several times. We just delve into this conversation and interrogate how do we restore this from happening so that we have a smooth nation. Nigerians, according to so many persons, cannot afford to be in this situation. We have a struggling economy. Everybody knows, irrespective of political affiliations or leanings, it's a fact that where we are right now, so much work needs to be done, either from the government part or the organized labor or the private sector. We are a nation that should get to work. You know, no doubt yesterday at a program in Lagos, the highly referred Professor Lumumba spoke and said, this is a time to get to work and not just to pray or have wishes, so many things like that. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you, because we are being joined right now by a labor person, a comrade, a policy analyst, Comrade Declan Ihekaire. Comrade, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. Government has spoken, the labor has spoken, the strike has been averted, at least for the next 30 days. But then so many promises. Let me just read it out. We have suspension of strike for 30 days, federal government to press state on a wage award. I'm talking about the agreements now. Tax incentives for private sector workers, 35,000 naira for federal workers for 6 months, 75,000 naira for 15 million households, suspension of VAT on diesel, increased distribution of subsidized fertilizer, joint visitation to refineries, among others. Do you think this is it? Are we in the clear now as far as this matter is concerned?
Well, thank you so much. I want to say clearly, as a monitor and one of the foremost problems, I want to say that this is the best agitation so far coming from the labor body. How do I mean by this? This is the first struggle that has ended up forcing the government into the corner. It's because of all the policies made by the government under this condition, under the panicking condition. I call it panicking because it takes a panic government to make promises that I believe will not be kept. The only promise I know that will be kept amongst those that have been out by the government is the one who said 15 million Nigerians will be given certain amount of money as palliative. That is possible because you and I don't have records of such people that will get the money. So if it's only 10 people that get the money, the government has spent 2 million Nigerians have spent money, so they were still in their hand. Finally, by December, I want to say people, that's another issue, because if you finally start work, you don't expect Nigeria to be buying fuel at 600 naira any longer. And if we don't buy the fuel at 600 naira any longer, automatically the government will not have enough at hand to say they want to increase salary or want to do anything. They believe that the money that they want to add to the salaries of the workers is coming at the cost of the smoke. The gains so far achieved or working for the social. So, for me, and to many, this is the best I think so far. Thank you.
All right, comrade, let's look at this a little bit further. Part of the agreement agreed upon yesterday with Labour federal government is that the federal government should look into states, local government, the private sector doing the needful in their states as well. Because workers on the federal level now, you have an opportunity to get additional 35,000 naira, while states are still there. And we know what it looks like. There's a 2 billion naira that has been given to virtually all the state governors all over the country. And some of them have come out to state this was how these monies were used. Some have said, some have not even done, we've not even heard from other state governors. But at this moment in time, won't there be agitation from labor unions from the state level to make sure that both the private sector and state governments, workers do the needful for their workers? Is this not going to cause a little bit of uproar in some states?
Thank you. This is what I call the more you look, the more you see. You remember when the 18,000 minimum wage was pronounced by the government, by the federal government? How many states in this country have to? To date, some states are negotiating. But when it came to the issue of the federal government releasing billions of naira for palliative, you saw the way most states grabbed that money. They grab the money because they know it is a kind of money that cannot be accounted for. Cannot be accounted for because you and I don't know the number of people that benefit from such money. And so we end up making corruption in this country. We end up creating avenues. Now, the government has made the privatization of 35,000 naira. Can the same government mandate the state, or if possible, return the money at source when they are releasing from fact federal allocation? They can go from there and get to whoever they want to pay. It is possible, but they won't do it. So it's quite unfortunate that we are finding ourselves where we are today. Our government always look for a soft landing in everything. That is why that the government has ended up putting itself in the corner. Quite unfortunate that at the end of 30 days, we will still come back to the drawing board.
Comrade, are you saying that you don't trust the government enough to see this through? Because you have just said, and like in the next 30 days, we'll still be back here. Is it a question of the government not having the resources to put this through, or sincerity?
I had never trusted any government. The government I will trust is the government that promises me aid as a citizen and they carry it out. I can only trust the government that will tell me I spent 100 naira on a particular project and I investigate and it is so. I can only trust the government that the leadership are people of impeccable character. I want to trust the government where those occupying positions don't have criminal charges before EFCC or before any court of competent jurisdiction. I'm in this country and I've had some set of promises. How many of those promises have been kept? It's quite unfortunate.
All right, comrade, quickly, let's look at this. I'm still trying to stay with this 35,000 naira for 6 months as put together by Labour and agreed by federal government. Why do you think Labour has not for once put a permanent end to the aspect of minimum wage? Why shouldn't they have just used this opportunity to get this from the federal government rather than this 35,000 naira for 6 months, and probably we are back to this to square one by the time 6 months is over? Hello, comrade. Hello. All right. We seem to have lost connection from Comrade Declan's side. But by and large, if you're just joining us, we are taking a look at the eventual agreement between federal government and Labour yesterday, and we've seen quite the video. We've been able to play out the video, and there's quite a whole lot that they have agreed upon, such as the suspension of strike for the next 30 days, federal government to press states on wage award, tax incentive for private sector workers, and 35,000 naira for federal workers for 6 months, 75,000 naira for 15 million households. Yeah. Now, just as while we are waiting to reconnect with Comrade Declan, let's just, Femi, looking at 75,000 naira for 15 million households, the strategy to get those 15 million household, I'm not sure this was stated. We've had things like this even in the past, from the previous administrations going to the market and what have you. How do you think, from your own view, how do you think the federal government and those who will be in charge of distributing 75,000 naira to 15 million households?
I think the major reason here is trust issue. But we are happy Comrade Declan is back. Comrade Ihekaire, can you hear us now?
Loud and clear.
All right. You are going to land on your thought. Did you hear the question before that disconnection?
Yes, I was saying that we're still going back to status quo. Because making the promise of 35,000 naira to federal workers in 6 months. Are you saying that those workers are under the employment of the federal ministry for only 6 months? And after we have solved their problem with 5,000 naira for 6 months, what happens after them? Are you going to remove 5,000 or are you going to add 5,000? That's where the administration is tied. And the government might not be able to keep up to these policies. Mark my word. The government that I know now, they are acting in panic because they feel the only way to assuage labor from engaging in the strike was to make promises, which I believe will not be kept. I am waiting for when the refineries will start working. And once the refineries start working, Nigerians are paid that they cannot buy fuel at 600 naira. It will drastically reduce. And if it reduces, there won't be enough money in the hands of the government to play around or to do around. Like I always say, the NFCC that I know has always been the fund through which so many things go wrong in this issue. You and I, today, we don't know the number and the quantity of fuel we need the difference. So many people have been started. And they will take our money out to over there, we will tell us that we focus to so and so. Now, they are telling that subsidy has been removed. And I have been able to accumulate so many billions of naira coming from that importation. Now, if the importation will eventually stop because the refineries will start working, where will the government accumulate such money? So, I want the government that will be here to its people. We have everything in place to run this nation. If only our leaders, those at the head of our state, if only we will be here to serve the people, and not to serve their purpose.
All right, comrade. Before we interrogate further, because we are still going to take some of these agreements bit by bit, it seems something is lacking here, and that's trust. The trust deficiency possibly between the government and the labor, predominantly between the government and the people, that even if any perceived good plans is being rolled out by the government, you will still see many persons second-guessing them. But this is administration of President Bola Tinubu. Is just like 100 days or thereabout in office. Shouldn't the people, shouldn't the organized labor, shouldn't you, as national coordinator for activists for good governance, shouldn't we just give them that benefit of the doubt to come through with these promises instead of just judging them with previous antecedents? Comrade.
Thank you. Benefit of the doubt died years ago. Benefit of the doubt died when MKO Abiola refused or was denied to be the president of this country. This is a man who was doing for the...
Hello, comrade. Hello. Oh boy.
So the connection is bad.
One of those things. We'll just hope we'll reconnect with Comrade Declan, and let's get his thoughts as to what we are discussing on the show this morning. But by and large, quite a whole lot was agreed upon between the federal government and labor unions yesterday. But just as you rightly asked the guest this morning, that distrust is quite a whole lot of...
Seems to be widening.
It's a big issue at this moment in time because federal government, Nigerians don't trust them. Just I like that aspect of the question. Even if they have genuine motive towards making things happen in the country.
All right. Seems Comrade is back. Comrade, are you with us now?
Okay.
I am with you.
All right. You are going to land on your thoughts. Please go ahead.
Yes, I said that I will not put any government for now because they lack trust. Few weeks ago, in the United States of America, we saw Mr. President at the stock exchange there. He rang a bell, and the next day the news was that he was number one person that had done that. And later we heard he was not the number one. That's the monumental distrust.
Isn't that just a gaffe, made by just one of the aides? Will you put that blame, Comrade, will you put that blame solely on the doorstep of Mr. President?
My brother,
yes.
Has that aide been fired? If the aide has not been fired, then what are we talking about? It's a national disaster. What happened there was a national disease. I felt ashamed of myself as a Nigerian. That is part of what is taking us not to trust any government. When Buhari came, Buhari made better promises. How many did he keep? Jonathan came, Jonathan made promises. He made some announcement that he has built 7 mega bridge on Facebook, on social media. He built it completely. I am from the south. How will I trust that person? We have again the new hope. Renewed hope that has come. What are we getting? So it will be difficult for Nigerians to trust any government. Rather, Nigerians are trusting God. And that is why our leaders are catching up on that to say, oh, they can do anything and don't speak. Because they know Nigerians only trust God. So what will do it, what will do. In some other places where they don't believe in God doing it, you find people going on the street and sending out their leaders. But the government has to be very something. When the time comes that Nigeria is no longer bringing themselves and putting all their stuff in government, then at that point in time, there was a crisis. I'm not calling for crisis anyway. I'm only asking the government to listen to the people.
Comrade, do you think the decisions made at this moment in time, or let's say the agreements made at this point in time by the federal government were panicky, or so that to avert this the proposed strike? Were they panicky agreements?
I have said it and I keep saying it. It is purely a panicky one. A panicky one because tell me, how would the refinery work? December is just how many days from now? How many days from now? The CNG buses, how many have you seen? How many? These are issues. And I've told you that I believe will be kept. Is the 15th government. They are going to work with directly. And we know how it works out. We know how they coordinate, how they plan these names. And they will come out. I think that in this one, what's it called? The vice president or Shibajo's money stuff was being done in this country. Where he was going about giving people money here and there, and no accountability. You know how it's wrong. So this decision was taken in panic, and that was why I said that Labour has succeeded in forcing the government into a corner. And the first 30 days time, they will come back to join, but I want to see how those promises who have been kept. I said it also. You are giving that forecast in the federal ministry for 6 months to be a palliative or permanent salary. So if it's a palliative, it means at the palliative of 6 months, you will stop and workers will go back to where they were. Is that the position? The uncoordinated, the set of people out at the party. To have not been able to labor, we share your mic and let us reason among ourselves and come out with the best decision. That would have been the best way to vote. You would have asked labor, let us go to the refinery. The labor will be telling Nigerians, oh, we have seen the level of what going on in our refinery.
Yeah.
We are sure that by December we will go.
All right, comrade. Yeah. Can you hear me, comrade?
I can hear you.
All right. You know, part of the decisions made is this place that you have just landed, joint visitation to refineries. It was part of the agreement that the Labour and the government will have a tour of those facilities to see what has been done so far. But then the government, through the president, who is the head of the nation, by the way, has spoken repeatedly and say, I see your pains. This subsidy removal is a necessity. We can't keep going that route. The government can afford that. And by the way, the payment is just a few individuals. He reiterated that in his Independence Day speech, which he made 2 days ago, to say, this is painful. I see you, but it is just temporary. And that is why we are doing A, B, C, and D, you know, in a manner of speaking. And, you know, comrade, let me put it this way. If the government were to make true of these promises, this agreement of, you know, let's take it bit by bit now, suspension of VAT on diesel, that has been said, and work is underway. The provision of CNG-powered buses, CNG buses, that's gas-powered buses, they have been marked 100 billion naira for that, and they has given a timeline. So some of these things, you are talking about increased distribution of subsidized fertilizers, and it is just palliative. That is just cushioning the pains of these things. They said they were going to give 5 billion naira to states. 2 billion naira has been given to states. They promised bags of rice. It has been given to so many states. That one is the purview of the state now. Now, if the nation, the government in this case, is to make through of all these promises, do you think that is sufficient, at least to cushion the effects of this subsidy removal on Nigeria?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You have spoken. I tell you one thing. The only palliative that can go around to every citizen in this country is the palliative of fuel pump price. How do I mean? The CNG policy cannot fly where I reside. Cannot fly where my grandmother resides. So how will my grandmother benefit from that? All right? How will I benefit from the CNG bus? And anything that as a government you are giving out to selected few, not all, that you govern, then it is very good decision. Every good decision as a father that has so many children is to make sure that all your children are captured in your policy and decision. That's how you do. Now, you're talking about the first subsidy. The same people in government today were those who told some people like us in 2012 who said subsidy was a scam. I was part of the struggle. Some of my Kenyan people said when they applied, they were part of the struggle. They led us to the back. They were on there. We were at the barricade. So we were now given time to have remove the subsidy there. Probably by now, the suffering would have gone. This is part of the stuff we're talking about. And we must be careful as government, as leaders, to be steadfast in whatever we're doing. We should devoid ourselves of pulling down systems. If this first subsidy was a scam, we would have asked the people that were supposed to remove it then. Count the number of years together and just now. Probably before then and now, things have been better. Here we are today.
Comrade Ihekaire, will you say, because you said you are part of the Occupy Nigeria in 2012 that had that massive protest against the government of Jonathan for removal, or when he attempted to remove the subsidy, looking back now retrospectively, will you say you regretted that move?
Yes, I regretted it.
All right. But, Comrade, part of the measures taken to cushion the effect of this hardship at this moment in time in Nigeria is the removal of tax on diesel. Isn't this a good move by the government, at least, to cushion the effects of this hardship at this moment in time? What do you make of that?
Thank you so much. I have said that any policy of any government that does not serve the mass of the people is a policy in wrong direction. I don't use diesel. Most of the companies that would have used diesel will still buy those things with their money. Why not know what you are doing on electricity? Electricity palliative or subsidy would have gone around more than removing the VAT on petroleum
on diesel.
So give us palliative energy. That you can get diesel to the next 1 year to pay. So most companies will start processing without paying electricity, and that will go a long way in making sure that the economy.
Comrade, the power sector is deregulated already. It's in private hands. Isn't it?
I disagree.
How so?
If it's truly deregulated, the regulated to who provide this thing,
there are private entities.
Who owns that? We have had situations where they had bailout. If something is regulated, don't give bailout. The same thing happened in the banking sector. Billions of naira were given out banks as bailout. If it's regulated, every person in charge of ABC should be able to take charge. So, the truth is this, Brother. We're in a country where insincerity is ruling. Insincerity is ruling. I am not I'm not limiting it to this government. It has always been. I've given you an example of somebody who constructed Nigeria before let's go. And those that did not go and investigate, but say when they were saying, yeah, they are done it. We have seen so many things in this country. We have seen a country where an aircraft was brought into this country branded with Nigerian color. And to say Nigeria. We know all this. We're in a country where billions of naira or trillions of naira was paid out for new currency to be printed. Where are those currencies now?
Oh boy. All right. But further talking, comrade, I know you spoke a little bit about that aspect of the distribution of 75,000 naira to 15 million households. And also there is this talk of fertilizers, increased distribution of subsidized fertilizers. The distrust that we have been talking about for a while here, it's playing out. This seemed to be, do you think this seemed to be a good move? Distribution of 75,000 naira, subsidized fertilizers, but how do they rationalize those who will be giving this monies? What do you make of this?
I've just told you, sir. I said of all everything the government said, the only one I know that will work is the 15 million people that will be giving the 5,000 naira. Because I know you and I don't have record of those that benefit from it. We don't have the record. The fertilizer thing, sir. This government is not the first government that will give out fertilizers. And fertilizers are not being given out. To who? Now, when you give out something free to somebody, you have subsidized that. Now, if you have subsidized that, if a bag of rice produced in Nigeria before the subsidy, before the pallet, before the subsidy of the giving out fertilizer was 70,000 naira. Now, if you are giving out fertilizer to such farmer, you expect the right to drop from 70,000 to maybe 45,000 or 50,000. Has that worked? So why are you giving us something to people who will not use it to the benefit of the man for the people? And that's why I keep saying, any policy that is geared towards you is not a good policy. And that's why I'm saying, the best thing the government can do today is to make sure that the refinery is working, and when the refinery is working, that the fuel price comes down. I tell you one thing, if the fuel price comes down in Nigeria today, Nigeria will pay. The anger of the land today is because of the high in fuel pump price. I tell you, when I travel to my village in those days, before the suffering of the month, I can feel my tank, a pilot, to and fro. I will spend about 55,000 to and fro. Now, if I dare it, I'll spend about 150,000 naira. And you think I'll be happy with something God has given us? With something God has given us in this country? And we're even taking our eyes out or away from other natural resources God has given us. We have diamonds, we have limestones, we have so many other resources. What has government done about those things? How much are we getting from those areas to complement what we are getting from the oil we keep on mentioning? How many of them have been able to advance those resources for the betterment of people from mass today? We must wake up in this country. We must wake up. It is not compulsory by force that you must be the president or the governor or the minister. It's not compulsory. Those positions are made for people who are ready to serve the people. It's service to the people, not service to your family, not service to your pocket. I am angry with leaders.
As much as you're angry with leaders, comrade, some have said that this was a very big opportunity for Labour in all ramifications to have further boxed the federal government into agreeing to such palliatives, such as the electricity you subsidized stuff concerning electricity, which will have actually gone round every household, subsidize food prices, subsidize quite a whole lot of things that would actually have gone round, that will have made direct impact in the lives of virtually all Nigerians. Do you think the labor unions are still very honest, or they have been able to get their share of what they are looking for?
Thank you. I said it earlier that the best struggle so far is a struggle that has brought the government to now. And I'm sure some of the labor leaders will be listening to this interview this morning. And I'm sure in the next 30 days that I'm going to be doing, they will raise the issues that we have raised. I want to tell you, nobody pays me salary. So if the government is adding that 5,000 naira to work out in the ministry, am I not a Nigerian? Am I not a Nigerian? Who is paying me? Who is paying my wife? Who is paying my siblings that are also doing their own private job? The only way government can pay me is by making sure that I benefit something directly from the government. If the government is here, you need to start bringing 5,000 naira. Make life easy for the people. When you make life easy for the people, Nigerians will be happy. I don't know.
Are you still with
vote in my community? We do it on our own. I don't know how many times, how many days, how many months I change my shop and over and every other thing. Things are okay. I tell you, Nigerians are the best set of people that can be governed without strength. But there's a limit to absorbing pain. There is a limit.
All right.
Nigerians have been put to the world gradually. And I pray the government in power should wake up. They should wake up and do the.
All right. Comrade Declan Ihekaire, as somebody who preaches for good governance, who craves good governance, who has been an activist for good governance. Now, we've heard what the government are saying, we've heard what the laborers are saying, and we've seen the agreements that have been reached in all of these. Now, talking about cadres of power, the federal government, the state government, at the levels of government rather, the state government, the federal, the local government, one of the agreements here is very key. And it is that the labor are saying the federal government should urge states, government, local government, and private sector to tag along in that salary award that has been said, that 35,000 naira thing, at least for their people. Now, this is only for federal workers, but the NLC are saying, please encourage states, please encourage local government, please encourage private sector to do that. As somebody of good governance, do the federal government has power? Do they have the influence to urge these levels of government to do that, including the private sector? How do they go about it?
Thank you. This is what Fela called no agreement today, no agreement tomorrow. How do I mean? Of recent in Lagos State, I think you are listening.
Yes.
In order to make sure that the palliative in terms of transportation was okay for the government, the government came up to say they own the blue bus. They said blue bus has been slashed, the price has been slashed, and that the yellow bus is privately owned, that they will ask them to also slash their fare. It could not work because the government does not have direct control over those commercial yellow buses. So, coming to your question, the federal government owns the state, owns the local government, in the sense that there's something that brings all of them together. That's the sharing motive formula, the sharing motive formula. So the government and the federal now hold the state at the shop and said, my friend, this month we're not going to get your full share. We're going to remove APC for the salaries we have said.
But do they have the constitutional power to do that?
Sir, do state government have constitution to also withhold local government money? We are where in this country where money meant for local government and autonomous body is always being encamped by the state. You are aware of what's happening in Ogun, where an big local government chairman only came up to accuse the state government to say, I'm not receiving my monthly allowance by local government. And before he knew it, he was impeached. Before he knew it, DSS was on this on him. Before he knew it, police was on this on him. Because he asked for what belongs to him. Not only him, all the local governments in that state, in Ogun State without you. So, we need sincerity of purpose. And if the leader is right, the followers will follow suit.
All right, comrade, as we gradually coast home here, for someone like you, sir, Labour, federal government, there's a 30 days that all Nigerians are waiting for at this point in time. So at least for now, everything will probably go as it should go. But in another 30 days from now, what do you foresee as the final conclusion, probably, when they come back to the table again in 30 days?
Yeah, I appreciate it. But let me tell you something. Labour should be careful. Federal government should be careful. Labour should be careful because the struggle in this country now is gradually going beyond Labour. And when Labour begin to slip out of the context of what majority of Nigerians want, majority of Nigerians that Labour don't have control over will run over Labour, and Labour will do. On the government part, the government should leverage on the Labour position to also make sure that everything they are doing is not only for Labour, but for other Nigerians who voted for them, who did the needful. I sat down. How many people are the government? When I mean by the government, I mean those ruling us. They are not going to 1,000. How many people are the Labour leaders? They are not up to 1,000. Now, add 1,000 Labour, 1,000 government, maybe 2,000. They cannot overrule the position of the mass of the people. And that's why I said, Labour should fight beyond workers. Government should also expand its goodwill beyond labours, but to the people. Because when you do that, you are balancing the force. If government does not do that, and Labour does not do that, the people will fight Labour, and automatically they will run contrary against government policies. And that's revolution. I'm not calling for revolution, but the government and the Labour should not see themselves as alpha and omega, as those that can decide the fate of me and you. I just told you, when government wants CNG, Labour felt, oh, it was good. But to me, it's not good, but I'm not going to benefit from it. They mentioned the removal of tax from diesel. I am not going to benefit from that. If you are saying companies will benefit from it, but I don't want to use money in buying the diesel. So this is my position.
All right. Yes, Comrade Declan Ihekaire, finally, you preach good governance, as I said earlier. What will be your ideal model of good governance in Nigeria? Now that you have said it repeatedly, you don't trust this government, you don't trust previous government due to antecedent. And I even asked you if actually you just cut this government some slack or possibly just give them a benefit of the doubt, but it's like you're not cut out for that. But as it stands, as a patriotic Nigeria, as the national coordinator of activists for good governance, what is your ideal model of good governance?
My ideal model of governance should be what is good for A is not good for B. My ideal way of doing things is that the people at the end of our care will connect less. The people at those will connect more. They are smiling home to banks. They are smiling to the banks with billions of naira. Have they been able to cut down the cost of governance in this nation? Have they? In budget 15, diesel being paid for at Aso Rock. You still see money appropriated for newspapers in Aso Rock. You still see money being budgeted for jobs guiding Aso Rock. As those policies change, has the salary level of our advertising been reduced? Has the House of Rep members' salaries have been reduced? Has their allowances been reduced? Has the number of ministers appointed has it been reduced? Has the number of SSAs, SS has it been reduced? So the government that I expect is the government that cuts costs. When you cut costs, you have more resources to go around everybody. You want me to sacrifice? Are you also sacrificing? If you are not sacrificing, I don't need to sacrifice. You tell me to sacrifice by attending a local clinic, a local hospital. But to you as a leader, you patronize some hospital. You want me to understand by sending my children to public schools in this country. Do your children or your relatives' children attend such schools? These are questions.
All right,
you want me to patronize made in Nigeria products?
Yes.
What kind of rice? What kind of water? What kind of shoe? What kind of clothes do you wear? These are issues.
All right, comrade, before we let you go, let me quickly add this. Sometimes it appears that as a nation, policy analysts, strategists will focus more on the federal government. Let me ask you, what part do states have to do in this? Now, the government, the center, has done some things, at least as it stands, giving out trailers of rice, grains, maybe improved seedlings of some farm produce, and 5 billion naira, in which 2 billion naira has been released. Almost all the state government says, yes, we have 2 billion naira. And there are some states that have not even said anything about the 2 billion naira. And there are some states that have come out to say this and these are what we are doing. What part do state government has to do in bettering the lives of their people, especially with this current economic situation?
Thank you. Based on this question, according to the position of power, the federal government does not have anything to do with agriculture. The federal government does not have anything to do with water resources. Federal government does not have anything to do with so many things that they are engaged in. And that's why the position of power is very expensive. Now, if that has been done, there will be few money in the hand of the federal government. There will be more money at the hand of state and local government.
But do you trust them to deliver?
Well, at that point, we'll be able to hold them accountable. It's easier for me to march to state government office, to government office, and barricade the place, than for me to march to Aso Rock and barricade Aso Rock. It's easier for me to barricade the office of local government chairman in my community to demand for accountability than marching to the office of the Minister of Finance in Abuja. So, when the evolution of power comes in, the power begins to come down to the people. But now most states are hiding under the cover of there is no money with the federal government. See, every road that is being constructed, none is being constructed at the federal state. at the federal level, it's consulted in state and local government. I know the best material to be used in my local government and local government. You don't go and bring a federal road maintenance agency. So maintaining a road in a state belonging to a state, being applied by people within a state. And so make more money available to the state and the local government. Federal government does not have business instruments they are engaged in.
All right.
And so there is need for devolution of power.
All right, we'd like to thank you so much, Comrade Declan Ihekaire, for taking time out to join us and to analyze the federal government labor agreement. We sincerely appreciate your time.
It's labor agreement, not labor agreement.
All right.
Oh, it's disagreement, not agreement.
All right, then. We wish you the very best. And obviously, we will always have cause to talk to you again on our shows and different shows that comes out from here. Thank you, Comrade Declan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And that's what it looks like this morning. But by and large, we will keep tabs with happenings and looking at some of the agreements made by government and federal government, labor and federal government yesterday night. Will all these manifest? We heard that the 35,000 naira takes effect from September. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But by and large, I am still waiting to see what it looks like from the state level.
The 25,000 now.
Yeah, from the state level.
Is it?
And
I think it's October.
No, September.
All right.
They said it takes effect from September. And the private sector, you know, this...
Who measures that of this private sector?
That is just what exactly.
Who forces them to
because, you know, when we stated this earlier, while we look at the federal workers at the end of the month having 35,000 naira additional increase in their salaries, then what happens to state workers and the humans as well?
The state, possibly the labor unions can even agitate for it at the state. But we're talking about private business owners who will force that. But then, in sincerity as well, what is the cost of running a business now as a private person? With diesel at 1,000 naira.
Yeah.
Petrol between 580 and 600 naira. How do you now force such a business that is trying just to stay afloat to pay increase? You know, I think these are conversations that sometimes you just want to look at the pros and the cons. If you're an employer, it's good for you to agitate and say, please review our salary, fine, because the cost of living has increased. But then if you're a business owner, I'm not sure that would be a good tone, a good sound to the air, because for any business now to even survive, I'm not talking about those mega corporations, but just a decent business owners having 10, 5, or even 2, 5, 10 persons as your employees. Now you're talking about increasing their salary, but then which is very necessary as well. But the balancing of paying for the utilities, the bills, the all kinds of tickets and taxes. Although the government are saying they are going to give some tax waiver, but I think that's on diesel.
On diesel.
Maybe if that happens on diesel, it will have it will trickle down to how much diesel is being you know, is being sold rather. But I think kudos to any business owner still running his business at this time, because this is not the best of times. But then salary increase, balancing.
We'll be back again tomorrow on the midweek edition of Morning Spring right here from Western Spring Television. Thanks to you for being there with us. And just as we rightly made it clear that you can follow us on all our social media handles. You can like, subscribe, share on YouTube. We are live on all the social media at Western Spring Television. Check us out on X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'd like to thank the entire transmission team for this amazing feat achieved again today. Thank you for being there with us. We'll be back tomorrow for Wednesday's edition, the midweek edition. TUNDE IDOWU is my name at Irresistible TD on X.
You can have a recap of this program on Western Spring Television as well. That's on our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share as well. Thank you for being part of the program. This morning, FEMI Ojo is my name, as I usually say. May Nigeria prosper. God bless Nigeria as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.